Welcome back to another episode of Self Love is a Key Wellness. I'm Cambria Caldwell. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have with me a special guest, Miss Joy Rogers, and she is.
I am a polyamorous and self love coach. So I help polyamorous individuals who are either new to the lifestyle or having some struggles in the lifestyle.
Yes, a poly and self love life coach. I love it. So, I mean, obviously, right? Like, we had to get together and be able to talk about all things that have to do with self love. So,
Yes.
yes. So, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about your journey in becoming a love coach. What was?
Um,
Mhm.
I think what happened was I was like on a deep search for like how to best help people. I think I've always been like this nurturer. I've always had this nurturing spirit. I used to think that it meant that I was supposed to be a mom. So after having kids, I discovered that I think that I'm supposed to nurture in different ways. And I one of my goals in life is to just to spread love and show people that they're loved. I think that growing up, I went through a lot of struggles of being misunderstood and just not feeling like I fit in. And so I wanted to create a space where people who I identified with or, who I know have struggles could find that safe space. So,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so tell me more about the kind of clientele that tend to seek you out. What are they like?
well, most people who seek me out are in some, I get a lot of men who are interested in becoming polyamorous.
Okay.
But they don't know where to start. They don't know how to find people who are interested in polyamory. They are running into a lot of women who say they're interested, but then pull back and they're not interested later. And then I run into a lot of women who are struggling with jealousy within the polyamorous realm. So just not knowing if they're polyamorous or not. A lot of women seek me out because they are interested and they are struggling like with the jealousy part of it, not knowing if they're really fit for polyamory, if polyamory is fit for them, struggling with their partners in the polyamorous space, not feeling heard. So I help out a lot with that as well.
I love that. And I have some clients who are polyamorous, and I
Hmm.
find that a lot of their issues are the same ones that people who
Hmm.
are monogamous have, right?
Hmm.
So for example, a lot of my clients talk about boundaries and how
Hmm.
important that is. Like when you're establishing those boundaries as far as, how the dating should occur, for how long or how deep you should be going with the dating. So, right. So is it more like, I have, for example, one client who doesn't mind if her husband dates, but doesn't want him to take her to their same dating spots. For example,
Hmm.
that's a boundary, you know,
Hmm.
or doesn't want him to spend the night over her home.
Hmm.
That would be a boundary, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So how often do you talk about that with your clients?
A lot. I think that a lot of people get rules and boundaries like mixed up, because a boundary is supposed to be set to protect yourself and not to control your partner.
Yes.
So, and then there should be some type of like within polyamory, there should be some type of time. If your boundaries have to do with, if your boundaries restrict the movements of your partner with his other partner, there should be some type of time limit on that as well. So
Right.
I think a lot of people think that because that they get boundaries and like rules or restrictions confused, and they're very different. I know that a lot of people, I think that the best way to like approach those type of situations is just addressing like the jealousy, because that's the jealousy thing. That's not, it's a jealousy thing. They're uncomfortable for whatever reason. So
Right, and that's another point, right? I have some clients who think
mhm,
that if you're polyamorous, it means that you won't ever be jealous again, and that's also
Mm-mm,
not true.
mm-mm.
I think
I've
it's
been
important
polyamorous
here
for
to be jealous. It's
for
part
like
of
5 years.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I still get jealous. So
You
the
five
jealousy
years.
is going to continue to happen. And I think that there are very few people who don't experience jealousy. I think that can be a normal thing. But being continuing to be jealous is also a normal thing. Like it's whatever is normal for you. And I think that a lot of people come into polyamorous thinking that eventually they won't be jealous or they shouldn't be jealous because they agreed to this. And that's unrealistic. That's not realistic. I still get jealous. The difference between me now and me 5 years ago is that now if jealousy arises, now I tend to like check myself, like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what is the underlying issue? What am I missing? Because that's what jealousy is pointing at. It's pointing at something within the relationship that's missing, or that you're afraid that you're not going to receive if he engages with other people, or that you're afraid, or that you possibly aren't receiving now, and you're scared that it's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important to it's important to address that.
Right. So a lot of individual work has to be had. It sounds like, along with a lot of communication and a lot of trust, well established trust.
And that individual work should be done prior to practicing polyamory, because I mean, because you can be polyamorous and not be in practice. So but so you can make the decision today, like, okay, I'm going to be polyamorous, but before we seek out other partners, we need to fix these things first.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of self work that needs to be done, and then there's a lot of work within the relationship that needs to be done as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and even finding the partner, and there's going to be more work that needs to be done there because someone's coming in. It's just like when a monogamous person gets they're used to being single their whole life, and then they get a partner, and then now they're having to adjust things. It's the same thing. It's just a third person.
Right, it is the same thing. And
Hmm.
to your point, you're talking about, getting out there and meeting people, right? So I know you
Hmm.
told me about, having more gatherings, events, get-togethers, or people who are like-minded can meet each other. Can you tell me a bit
Hmm.
about your vision when it comes to that?
Yeah. Like I said, I've been polyamorous for 5 years, right? And maybe like 3 years ago, I decided to do the coaching thing, and I decided that to put out educational content about polyamory. And what I've noticed within the Black polyamorous space is that there's not a lot of community. Community is highly lacking in the Black polyamorous space. So I know that I have so many people that I haven't met that support me within a polyamorous space, and I feel community um, even though there's not like a physical community, I feel community. But everyone doesn't feel that because everyone is not out here on social media, or social. They're not content creators, and they're not engaging with people every day. So a lot of people can feel alone within the space. So I wanted to create spaces where people can come out and mingle and engage, and my goal is to build a community to where we're seeing each other's faces all the time.
Okay.
So, and the more people that join the space, the more community, the more connection that we have. So I'm starting here in Vegas. I threw my first event November 16th, and I'll be throwing my next event in January. And then in about 6 months or so, I'm going to be going from state to state. I'll have something in New York, Houston, possibly Dallas, and then Los Angeles. I want to hop around and do events closer to other people so that they can be able to come out. There are a few other people that do this as well. It's not really big or known, so I want to be kind of like the big known. Like, this is where you know that when I have an event, you can come out, and this is where we're all gonna be able to commune and have fun and get to know each other and get to see how big the Black poly community actually is, because a lot of people don't even realize how huge our community is. It's huge. And so,
Wow. Okay. So then one would just need to follow your page,
yes,
essentially,
you can.
for
Yeah,
and
you
look
can.
for updates. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You can follow me on both Instagram and TikTok. To find out about the events, at Unapologetically, it's UNAPOLY, Jetically, GETICALLY, Joy. On That's both TikTok and Instagram. And you could also find me on and Threads as well. And you can also find me on Twitter at Polyam Joy. So
Nice.
yes, it's
Nice.
exciting. I got some big things coming. So I really want to build community, and I want people to feel the same love that I feel from other creators that reach out to me. I want people to see how loving and welcoming our community is, because it is really very loving and welcoming. It's not it's I always liken it to the gay community. Like, I just feel like it's once we find out you're with us, like you're with, or like his Hispanic people, they be big on family. Like, it's kind of like that. Like, once we find out you're one of us, you're in, and like everybody is just so loving and supportive. And I think that it's important for anybody who is in polyamory to have that community, because a lot of people are not going to understand what we're going through, especially black polyamorous spaces, because a
Mhm.
lot of people are not going to understand what we're going through, because they don't identify with us, they don't look like us. So, and
Mhm.
they don't like talking to monogamous people about polyamorous struggles. They're not going to understand. They have a completely different perspective. So I think it's very important for us to build the community as well.
I love it. I love it. What are some common questions that you get asked when someone finds out that you're poly?
um I get at So for one, people automatically assume it means that I want open relationships, which I think is insane. That yeah, people ought to. It doesn't matter. I can have a clear, like, if I want to, if I'm out dating, or I can say clearly that I'm looking for like meaningful relationships, and they still assume that I mean, because I'm polyamorous, it means that I want open relationships. Polyamory is not an open relationship.
Right. People are about you. They still date. You still date someone one on one.
Yeah,
Right.
it's still commitment. You're still committing.
Yeah.
You still have that loving relationship. An open relationship is where you have a partner, and you and your partner are able to sleep with other people. But polyamory is about relationships. So actually having relationships with the people that you engage with, and not just it's not just about sex. Some people are polyamorous and open. That's the thing. You can be polyamorous in a lot of different. You can be polyamorous in kink, but polyamory itself, it's a closed, it's closed dynamics. You come up with an agreement with your partners, and then you decide on that.
Right.
um I get a lot of men who are interested in dating me, and then they think that it just means that they can just sleep around and like have whoever and whatever they want do. Like, they don't there's no check-ins, but it's still a real relationship. You still have to be held accountable, that you can still cheat. People don't realize that you can still cheat in polyamory. Like, anytime you're being dishonest, anytime that's still cheating. There's still a such thing as cheating in polyamory. You don't just It's not like just you just get to do what you want to do. Um, yeah, and a lot of people think that it's like I'm just not serious. Like, they think that I've had guys turn me down. I've been turned down before when people find out that I'm polyamorous, because they think that they're like, oh no, I want more, and it's like I'm giving more. So yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, I have heard that people don't know really how to take it, and they assume that there's no rules or that
Mhm.
there's no boundaries when there very much are a lot of boundaries. And I learned that, like I said, having my own clients and listening to their experiences, and I'm like, there's no difference. There are still boundaries there. You still need to be honest about what you're doing, who you're seeing, all those things, right? And you
Mhm.
decide how much you want to know or how much you don't want to know. That's all up for
Mhm.
discussion. It doesn't mean it's just a free for all, you know?
Exactly. And I
Uh,
get a lot of guys who hear that I'm polyamorous. They get excited, and they think that that means we're gonna have sex as soon as I see them. And I'm like,
has
if
nothing to do
we're
with
still
that.
doing this the traditional, like, it's
Uh,
not traditional, but we still don't have sex on the first day, sir. Like, you still have to court me just like regular. I feel like, honestly, as a single polyamorous individual, I feel like I'm a bigger catch than a single monogamous woman, because I know that most men are not built monogamous. A lot of men, and I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of men settle for monogamy because they don't think that they could have non-monogamy, you know?
Ooh, girl, you touched a hot topic right there.
so
I'll
so
make some comments on that one.
right. So I feel like a lot of men settle. They settle for the women that they're with because they don't think, and then they secretly cheat or do whatever they're gonna do. But I feel like I'm more of a catch than most monogamous women because I'm saying, hey, just be honest with me, and then you could have what you could pretty much do. I just all I require is honesty.
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, right? So, how's it different than like grandma back in the day? Who had her husband and knew it was like an open secret that he stepped out, and then he might even have a separate family on the other side of town, but she knew she wasn't going anywhere and he wasn't either. How is that different than someone who just saying they're polyamorous? You know
I
what I
think
mean?
it's
Women will say that they're not, but some of them are.
dealing with the
They're
cheating.
still doing or allowing certain things. They just don't talk about it.
And that's the big difference, that they don't talk about it. And
Mhm.
polyamory is, and that's the funny part because my ex, he moved like that. He moved like I'm
With
grandma.
different families and stuff like
Right,
that.
exactly.
Or double life or triple life.
Yeah. So in polyamory, we talk about it. If something makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm like, hey, babe, I don't feel comfortable with this, and that. And we work through it, and we try to get to a point where I'm comfortable with it. Nobody's in a situation that they don't want to be in, because grandma didn't really want to be in that situation. If she could have chosen, she just didn't leave because he paid the bills and she loved him. In polyamory, we're saying this is what I would like, and if you're not willing to give it to me, I'm going to leave. You still have that. You will still leave if things are not right. You're not going to stay just because you love somebody. Love is not enough. Love is not. We not. Like we're going to communicate. We're going to talk through this, and we're going to see if we can get to a point, if we can agree on how this is going to be done. And if we cannot agree, then we need to split. Separate. I think that's the huge difference in polyamory, because grandma was unhappy. So, and we are about freedom, being free to be who you are with respecting the people that you're in a relationship with. And grandpa was not respecting grandma when he's out here sowing his oats with everybody and getting everybody pregnant and having these secret kids. And
Mhm.
then in those situations, the kids lacked because grandpa can't be over there all the time because he got a wife at home. So he's hiding this child, even though grandma might know about the child, but it's like a thing that wasn't talked about. So the kid is lacking a father figure in his life because this man has his home over here. In polyamory, if I'm with this man and he has another relationship with another woman outside of our home, that kid's coming over here. We're spending time together. We're doing things together. He can go over there, spend time with his kids. He might take my kids with him. We're a family. It's a unit. We're trying to build something bigger than just. It's not him having a secret life.
So
It's
this
not.
is like co-parenting 2.0.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you doing it anyway. Grandpa's still taking his money and giving some to that lady over there.
Ooh, girl, you'll get me in trouble. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, you said a whole lot right there. I can't. What can I say? Well,
It's
yeah,
the
but
truth.
no. Okay, and I wanted to ask you one more thing. So we were talking, and you mentioned something, and honestly, it sounded really good economically, right? So we were talking about
Oh
like
yeah.
it takes a village, right? And like how our ancestors, right, in Africa, you have a man who had several wives. They would all live on the compound together. They would go in on making sure everyone had what they needed. They would take care of the kids together. They would do chores together, things of that nature, right? And so you seem to have this idea, right, of what it could look like, and you have painted me a picture of it, and I want you to describe that again. Yeah.
So, yes. So no one ever thinks about it like when family members come together and they buy a big house and they help each other. No one ever looks at it any type of way when a bunch of family members are living in one house and they're sharing resources. But when it's a romantic relationship, people look at it crazy. But in my ideal world, I will find my husband and my wife, and we will build a house together, and we will share resources, we will share finances. I like to work, or not work, but we already talked about that. We trying to become self-employed here, but I'm not like a homemaker. So I would prefer someone who is a homemaker, who would like to stay at home, take care of the kids, take care of the house. Me and him work, and we build financially for the household, and then eventually find more wives or find more people to come in with us, and we build. My idea is like building a community. We're buying land, we're becoming financially stable in a different way, so that we can leave our kids and our ancestors land when we leave, so that we can build in a way like they did in Africa, like they did before. I want to be able to leave my kids behind a legacy. So yeah, that's the goal, is to be able to become financially free. And I think that the best way to do that is through polyamory or polygamy, or just it more people, the more hands that are in the pot, the more hands that are working to make sure the household is stable, the better. We all know that. And so if everybody's pulling their resources, I think that we could get a lot further in life.
Oh, okay. No, you painted a picture, and I was like, let me make sure we get that picture out there. Like, what? So that's an ideal, right, of what it could look like if
Yeah,
everyone was on the same page and everyone
yeah,
was wanted to have that team approach and that family approach, and not just say, there's going to be a lot of jealousy or dysfunction,
division.
all the things that people talk about on social media and whatnot. Just like the negative aspects that you hear about. Like, it doesn't have to always be that way. It could actually be something that's very harmonious and advantageous to everyone that's involved.
And there are a lot of polyamorous families that are already doing this. So
Yeah.
this is not something unheard of. That's not be like This is not just imaginary. It's not something I just came up with in my head. I'm praying that it work. I see it working. There's a guy on Instagram, Messiah Legend. He has, I think, like two or three wives, and they do the same thing. There's a couple of other couples that are already doing this. There's Passion Jones. She has two husbands, and they share resources, and they're building together. So it's possible. And these are people who have been together for years. These are not just. It's not like they when polyamory became popular, they started doing this. No, they've been doing this. They were doing this before polyamory became a thing. So it's possible. It's highly possible. You just have to have, for one, I feel like the head of the household, whether that I don't think that a man necessarily has to be the head, but if the head of the household has to know what they're doing and be able to pull everybody together and make things work.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think that's very important.
Hmm. Yeah, but you gave some examples of how it can happen, how it can happen.
Exactly.
Everyone can be getting what they need to get out of the situation,
Hmm.
and people can live and be happy within it.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay. Well, okay, I'm definitely going to plug you, right? I'm going to plug your page so everyone knows like where to go to get resources, to get information, to get updates on events and things like that. I try to end off with like final words or like last words that you want to put out there for everyone. Do you have like some final thoughts or last words for our viewers?
Yes, for anybody interested in polyamory, but maybe they're scared to like enter into the world of polyamory. Polyamory is so freeing because you get to be your authentic self, 100% your authentic self. I know that me personally, I've grown so much since I've become polyamorous. I've learned to learn myself so much despite what other people think. Even with my singleness right now and polyamory, like I'm still growing because I'm learning along the way.
Yeah.
So I think that if just go ahead and jump in, start telling people that you're polyamorous, and don't accept. I know a lot of men have struggle with telling women that they're polyamorous because they're afraid that people aren't going to be interested. But the more you tell people, you're going to find the people who are. You don't want, because at the end of the day, if you tell somebody what you like and they're not willing to give it to you, and you accept them anyway, you're settling. If you are interested in being polyamorous, don't settle, because it is settling if you're accepting anything else, if this is the life that you really want. So start telling people you're polyamorous. Your tribe is going to find you, and you're going to be able to build the life that you want. And take your time. Don't rush. A lot of people get into polyamory and they think that they're supposed to have 5 girlfriends the first week, and that's unrealistic. Sometimes it takes years to find the people that you want, but anything that's worth it takes time. So, yes.
I love it. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you back for more information. And I'm sure I'm going to get questions and comments and things like that. So I'll be sure to shoot those your way. And then if you have any upcoming like educational videos or courses, anything like that, also let me know. And I'm definitely going to share. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All
Thank you for
right.
having me.
Yes, of course.